November's Financial Literacy Month encouraged Canadians to talk money, create a financial plan, and break the stigma around debt. For many households in the Greater Toronto Area, GTA, talk alone is no longer enough. I am facing unmanageable debt. I need to do more than just budget. My bills and debts are out of control. I need to speak openly about my financial challenges and seek support through trusted resources. I may even need to speak with a licensed insolvency trustee. With the end of Financial Literacy Month and the new statistics from the Office of the Superintendent of Bankruptcy Canada indicating that consumer insolvencies are rising rapidly, surpassing the highs of the financial crisis, was the impetus for this week's Brandon's blog. Everyone needs to be on top of their household spending and should have a budget to make sure that their after-tax income is enough to cover all necessary household expenses, plus being able to save money for an emergency fund. And the reality for many GTA residents is that their income is not keeping up with rising prices. People are increasing their debt load through credit cards and lines of credit to supplement their income, never being able to pay any of it down. In those situations, you need the free consultation offered by a licensed insolvency trustee to look at your options and, if necessary, do a financial restructuring through a consumer proposal rather than a bankruptcy. My name is Ira Smith. I am not the real Ira Smith, but I am close enough. I am the president of Ira Smith Trustee and Receiver, Inc. If you or your company have too much debt, you are not alone. Both Brandon Smith and I are available to answer any questions you may have, either about this Brandon's blog or anything else at all. So shoot us a message, give us a phone call. We would love to speak with you. I hope you can watch the rest of this video and find the information helpful.
You know, for a lot of families in the Greater Toronto Area, just talking about money isn't cutting it anymore. And look, that conversation is important. But what happens when the debt is just too much? You need more than a plan. You need a legal shield. That's what we're diving into today, that critical moment when a financial plan needs to become a legal solution.
All right, let's just jump right in. I'm going to start with a big number, 36,256. That's how many people filed for consumer insolvency in Canada in just the third quarter of 2025. That's a lot of people. But what does a number like that actually mean?
Well, it means this. The experts at the Canadian Association of Insolvency and Restructuring Professionals are saying this is the worst it's been since the big global financial crash back in 2009. So this isn't just some random number on a page. This is a massive wake-up call.
And you know, that alarm bell, it's ringing especially loud for anyone living in the GTA. People here are dealing with a really unique and intense kind of financial pressure. This national problem definitely has a local epicenter, and that's what we're going to break down.
Okay, so before we dig into the really tough stuff, let's talk about what we're supposed to do, right? We're all told to build a solid financial plan. It's like building a house. You need a really strong foundation if you want it to survive a storm.
And you know what that foundation looks like. It's all the stuff we're taught to do. You've got your financial snapshot, what you own versus what you owe. You've got your budget, your savings, your goals. Then there's investing, protecting yourself with insurance and wills, and trying to be smart about taxes. These are the building blocks, the ideal setup for financial security.
But, and this is the big but, what happens when you do everything right? When you build that plan, you follow the rules, and it's still not enough. Well, for so many people in the GTA, that's the reality they're facing right now. The economy is literally working against even the best-made plans.
So that's the big question, isn't it? Why isn't just budgeting harder working anymore? And I really want to be clear here. This isn't about people failing at budgeting. This is about the budget failing the people. Let's look at why.
I mean, just look at this chart. It really shows you the scale of what we're talking about. The number of people filing for insolvency in late 2025 has blown past the peak we saw during the 2009 crisis. The pressure is just massive, and it's not letting up. And a huge part of that pressure? Rent. $2,350. Think about that for a second. As of late 2025, that's the average rent in the GTA. For most people, that's a huge chunk of your paycheck gone before you've even bought groceries or paid a single other bill.
And hey, if you're a homeowner, you're not immune to this pressure either. This is pretty wild. A full 75%, 3/4 of all household debt is tied up in mortgages. That makes families incredibly sensitive to any changes in interest rates or a sudden drop in income.
And here's the statistic that, honestly, it really puts it all into perspective. For years now, polls have consistently shown that almost half of us are just $200 away from not being able to cover our bills. That financial safety net people talk about, it's stretched so thin, it's basically transparent. For a lot of families, it's already snapped.
Okay, so when the old playbook of just budgeting harder doesn't work anymore, what do? This is where your plan has to get serious. It needs a legal shield. This is that turning point where getting an expert involved isn't just a good idea, it's absolutely necessary.
And that shield comes from a very specific expert, a licensed insolvency trustee, or an LIT. And this part is absolutely critical to understand. An LIT is the only professional in Canada who is legally authorized by the federal government to handle things like consumer proposals and bankruptcies. They work for you, but they're also an impartial officer of the court, there to make sure everything is done fairly and to protect your rights.
Now, for a lot of folks in the GTA, the best way forward is something called a consumer proposal. And don't think of this as giving up. It's the exact opposite. It's a structured, legally binding financial plan designed to get you out from under crushing debt and back on your feet.
So what does it actually do for you? Well, the benefits are immediate and powerful. First, and this is huge, you get peace of mind. The creditor phone calls stop, the wage garnishments stop immediately. Second, you get to keep your important assets like your house and your car. Third, you combine all those stressful unsecured debts like credit cards and loans into one single, predictable, interest-free monthly payment. And finally, you get a clear path to rebuilding your credit and your future. You know, I really want to stop on this next point for a second because it's probably the most important thing to hear. This is not failure, it's financial maturity. Choosing a legal solution like a consumer proposal isn't admitting defeat. It's about being mature enough to look the problem square in the eye and taking a powerful, decisive step to fix it for good.
So, what's the takeaway here? How do you go from just planning to actually protecting your financial future? It really just starts with one thing: understanding what your options truly are. Taking that first step is the most powerful move you can make.
And look, if any of this is hitting home for you, I need you to hear this. You are not alone, not by a long shot. These pressures are real, and they're affecting good, hardworking people everywhere. There is zero shame in getting expert help. Reaching out for help from a professional is a sign of strength, period. The folks who provided the background for this explainer, Ira Smith, trustee and receiver, they really stress that starting the conversation is key. That first step is a completely free, totally confidential consultation. There's no obligation, no pressure. It's just a chance to understand your situation and see what a real path forward looks like. You don't have to do this alone. You can start over, and you can start right now.